Hey everybody, Josh here, Fifth Wheel Gamer. So, anyone who's been wanting to see some dual screen action with the DS attachment for the Retroid Pocket 5 to see how it actually stacks up against the AYN Thor. Okay, remember the base model AYN Thor has a Snapdragon 865 in it. Now, the newer or the higher models have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 when it comes to the Thor. The only Odin device that had the Elite was the Odin 3, and they're no longer making it with Elite, but they're making it with some kind of a semi-equal chip to the Elite. So anyways, this video footage that I'm about to show you, of all the gameplay that I'm about to show you on this device, is going to be raw and uncut. The only thing that you're going to have is me voicing over it because of the fact that I don't want to get copyright striked for, gaming music or anything like that. But I will explain what's happening as we're going through the video. This is my first ever long play video. I had one wonderful subscriber that I was speaking to in the comments, and I asked him what he thought about me doing a long play video to show what this thing is actually capable of. He was in accord with that, so I was like, all right, cool, man, let's do it. So here we are. I hope you guys enjoy this, and like I said, I'll explain things as we're going along. So this is my RP5 dual screen long play video. Okay, you guys, so as I was getting everything set up here, first of all, I'm using Azahar, and the settings that I had originally in the beginning of this video, I had it set up at 3 times native resolution, so roughly close to 720p. And the first 3 games that I threw at it played pretty much full speed. I didn't really hit any hiccups until I got to Resident Evil Revelation, but that's one of those games that you can drop it down to native and you can play it. And remember, the 3DS, no matter what you do, no matter which 3DS app you use, you're still going to have a lot of compilation stutter whenever you're playing 3DS titles. So this game in particular is Kirby's Epic Yarn, and so a lot of these games I haven't even gotten the chance to dive into yet because I've been so busy with PC emulation and making videos also. But I've actually really enjoyed the PC emulation on my AYN Odin portal, and also on this device. But in these games, some of them run full speed right out the gate without any problems. Like I said, this game I had set up at 3 times native, and I didn't realize right away, but at some point in the video, I guess I had accidentally hit the wrong button or started a game in the wrong setting or something like that. But you'll see me swipe into the settings menu on the left side of the screen when I pull it up, and you'll see me swap the screen because you'll see that I've got the same display going on both screens, as opposed to one being one thing and one being the other like it's supposed to. And I was just being a jacktard, not even thinking about it, because I was having fun. I was playing the game and I was playing at full speed, and I was like, I wasn't even thinking about, hey, I'm supposed to see what the bottom screen looks like. And so it was just mirroring the top screen. And so I actually, about the time that I start playing on the Resident Evil Revelation, that's about whenever I was like, oh, hey, I need to change this to where they can see that you can have the top screen for your gameplay and the bottom screen as your map screen. And so Resident Evil Revelation on 3DS is a game that was actually ported to the Nintendo Switch, and this device runs that game pretty good, pretty reliably if you're using a Nintendo Switch emulator. You're just not going to have the benefit of having a second screen for your map. But nonetheless, if you don't want to play the 3DS version, then download Eden, or you can get old versions of Yuzu or Suyu or Sadachi. There are some games that literally only run on Sadachi. I found that out when I was going to play Assassin's Creed 3 and also Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. I had to run those through Sadachi with an older version of the firmware. I believe it was like 17.1 firmware, something like that. But that was the only way to get those games to run on this device. But this is a 3DS emulation video, so enough of that crap. So, anyways, so when it comes to Kirby games, I'm used to just having Kirby, be able to vacuum everybody up. And so when I fired up this game and I start trying to figure out this whole lasso mechanic that he's got going on, you'll see I finally start to get it. My little lizard brain finally kicks into overdrive a little bit, and it's like, oh, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. Matter of fact, I mean, the game's literally sitting there holding your hand. It's trying to tell you, like, hey, lasso this, hold on to it, and then throw it in the direction you need to throw it to get it where you need to go. But this is the first Kirby game I've ever played where, the controls for this game are a little bit awkward because, like, if you hold in one direction too long, Kirby turns into a car, and he's actually a little bit difficult to slow down. But the whole lasso mechanic did kind of throw me off. And then, going in and out of doors in Kirby games, normally when you go in a door, it just takes you to a different room or something. This one just kind of throws you into the foreground. Kind of reminds me of a lot of what they've been doing with some of the newer Mario games, like Super Mario Wonder, how you'll go down a pipe in the front screen, and then you'll pop out of a pipe in the foreground, in the background or whatever. And so pretty cool. But the next game up that I launched was Luigi's Mansion, and this is what I was talking about right here. I should have swapped the screens using the either the L3 or R3. It's one of those two buttons, and or you could just swipe from the menu and hit swap screen. And what it'll do is it'll swap that bottom screen to what it's supposed to be. And so I do apologize for that. But I will say this. Luigi's Mansion on this thing ran fantastic. I don't recall any compilation stutter whenever I was playing this game. Because normally when there's compilation stutter, you don't just see it, you actually hear it in the audio as well. And so this game actually did a really good job. It seems like Azahar's team was really well optimized for this one. And Luigi's Mansion is one of those games that I keep telling myself, like, man, I'm really going to get into this one day because, I've played and I've beat a whole bunch of Mario games, and I beat, Mario RPG, and, I love the Paper Mario series, and now I'm going to dive into Luigi's Mansion. I'm going to take this serious. But it hasn't happened yet. And the thing is it's a fun game. Like, right out the gate, the little nerd guy shows up and shows you what to do. You're basically a Ghostbuster now, It's like you're sucking them up into your little vacuum or what have you and whatnot. But you can see that Luigi's moving very quickly. And, so like I said, there's no slowdown in the frames on this game in particular. Just like I said, it seemed to be very, very well optimized. So I'm going to run back down the stairs here and get the key after I play around with these doors. But so anybody who's played the GameCube version of this, that there are weaker handhelds that can actually run Luigi's Mansion. They're not going to run them quite as full speed, or they're not going to run it without some kind of glitching. If you're running it through Dolphin and you're running it on some older hardware like a Retroid Pocket 2S or a Retroid Pocket 3 Plus or the RG505. But see, the thing about it is, though, is those game systems are 16:9, and when you run the GameCube version, it's meant to be in 4:3. But on the Nintendo 3DS, the GameCube version is actually stretched out, the way that it's supposed to be. So it actually looks very proper on the screen. And so that turned out to be another plus to having this attachment, is the fact that you are playing the game at what it's supposed to be on the 3DS, as opposed to playing the GameCube version, and then if you want it to take up the whole screen, you have to turn on widescreen patches or whatever, and run that risk of, depending on which version of Dolphin you're using, it glitching or having slowdown or whatever the case may be. And so, oh, there's the little nerdy guy I was talking about. I mean, this is like if Ghostbusters was animated into a little Mario cartoon, kind of. But I did have a little bit of fun with this. But at this point, I was like, all right, I'm if I get sucked into this game, then I'm not going to move on to the next game. And everybody wants to see how many games that this thing can run exactly. And this video is not meant to show that it can run the entire library or anything like that. But right out the gate, when I shot this video last night, and that's how you know that I'm dating myself here, that I recorded my voiceover the next day. But anyways, when I shot this video last night, I was like, I got to show these guys a decent amount of games, a decent amount of what it can actually do. And so, let's see, what was next? Oh yeah, Mario Kart 7 ran fantastically on this. I couldn't believe just how good. But then again, this is one of those games that's probably been, higher, better, way better optimized since the last time I saw it on an emulation video. I remember watching this on an emulation video that Russ from Retro Game Core had done way back in the day when he was doing a video, I believe it was about the Odin Light. And he was showing the capabilities of the Odin Light using 3DS emulation in Citra. And this was one of the games that was actually freezing up. But see, this is Azahar. This is not Citra. And so, these guys, this team, just seem to be on a tear when it comes to optimizations. They've put out release after release after release. But looking at the graphics in this game, because remember, this is at 3 times the native resolution, okay? And I believe this is the last game that I show where I forget to put the bottom screen to what it's actually supposed to be. So the bottom screen should be, your track map. But, like I said, I screwed the pooch on that one, you guys. I'm sorry. But as you can see, this thing is running full speed, 3 times native resolution. And looking at this game, Mario Kart 7, to be a 3DS game, to me, graphically speaking, is like, when I play Mario Kart 8 and then I jump back into this, I just sit there and I'm like, there is not, graphically speaking, that much of a difference to me, except for maybe like way off in the distance or something like that. If you're the kind of person who's like, a pixel counter or whatever, then you could have some fun picking on me about that. But to my beady little eyes, I think that the graphics in this look phenomenal, especially given the age of this game, because this is not a end of lifespan title that came out on the 3DS. I mean, you guys have to consider the fact that this game came out in the early 2000s, man. And so, that right there tells you just how good Nintendo was squeezing every last bit of power that they could out of their hardware. I mean, you're playing all these new games today, and you're thinking that you're looking at some huge graphical leap. But when it comes to Nintendo, there's never really truly been a huge graphical leap. To me, Nintendo's always been the ones that kind of took it a little bit slower. The huge graphical leaps to me came more with Sony systems for the most part. I think the first big graphical leap for Nintendo was when the N64 came out, But, and then GameCube came out and it looked better than the N64 by far. Yeah, it did. But, it wasn't like, wow, this is just blowing my mind. And then the Wii came out and it was like a slightly more steroid version of a GameCube. And then the Wii U came out and then it's like, okay, we're finally really starting to see the next gen. And then the Nintendo Switch came out and it was like, okay, well, we've seen these kind of graphics, for probably about the past 5 years on, the PS3. And, the thing is, when Nintendo launched the Switch 2, One of the things that they were saying is they wanted the processor in it to be as powerful as like a PS4. And so, it didn't seem like they were really shooting for the moon here. They were like, okay, well, the PS4 is already out, the PS5 is already out, and we're shooting for our next system to be like as strong as a PS4. But one thing about Nintendo is that they do excellent is that they manage to just squeeze every last ounce out of any kind of hardware that they have. And so, okay, here's where things get dicey a little bit with Resident Evil Revelations. Okay, this is where I finally realized, hey, I've got the same thing showing on the top and the bottom, and I know for a fact that I'm supposed to have a map screen on the bottom. So you'll see me here in a few moments or whatever. You'll see me go into the settings, and you'll see me swap out the screen, to where it's actually showing what it's supposed to show. See, boom, there it is. All right. So I didn't take the time with these games to go through a whole lot of the cinematic cutscenes and story and different things like that. I didn't really think that you guys wanted to watch cutscenes. I believe that if you want to watch the cutscenes, that's something that you're going to want to do when you launch the game yourself, when you buy the dual screen, or if you decide to run this on your AOI in Thor or whatever. And so that's why I really didn't spend a lot of time in the cutscenes. But you can see, like, if you stack this up right next to the Nintendo Switch version of the game, like it's pretty difficult to spot the differences graphically, in my opinion. But like I said, I don't have the greatest eyes in the world. I wear glasses, especially when reading. When I'm at the gym or something like that, I'm just a regular Joe Blow. But, you can see it's a little bit dicey right here. And then something that always caches a shader in this game, no matter which system you're using, is going to be when you walk up to this first door before you go inside the ship. You'll see that, first of all, apparently I forgot how to shoot a weapon. But, because I'm just sitting here like forever aiming that gun. Like, man, I'm not the guy who's going to win at Call of Duty matches. Let's just put it that way. And so another thing is that make sure that when you launch these games in 3DS, that you swipe down from the menu on your device and set it up for the Nintendo Switch layout for your buttons, because it's going to be the same on the 3DS. I was actually playing this through with the Xbox layout, so that's my stupidity on that. But yeah, when I saw how slow it got right here, I started to drop the resolution down from 3. And so you'll see it speed up just a little bit once I get into the settings here. And at this point, my wife walked into the room, and she was, la, la, la in the background, and she'd forgotten totally about the fact that I was shooting a video. And so it's another, one more good reason why I can do voiceover work here. Voiceover work, like I'm Steven Spielberg or something here. But yeah, this game, once you drop the resolution some, which you got to remember, the resolution of the 3DS was pretty low to begin with, but yet they somehow managed to make this game look awesome, even at a low resolution. So if you drop this game all the way down to 1x, you should have a pretty good playable experience. But, if you're a snob that absolutely has to have the best resolution for this game, then like I said, I would just download the Nintendo Switch version of it and play that one instead, through Eden or something. But yeah, having the map on the bottom, in a nice big screen like that, that really helps guys like me, because I don't want to have to sit there and memorize 10,000 different corridors to find my way back through games. I'm at an age now where I'm a little bit more impatient when it comes to my gaming than what I was when I was younger. When I was younger, I could memorize the map screen layout to Metroid, okay? Which, if you remember the original Metroid on NES, there were people that were going around like writing out paper maps and stuff, people that couldn't afford gaming magazines that would show them where they had to go and what they had to do. That was a big thing when I was growing up. For all of you older gamers, you can appreciate that. You remember things like EGM2 and Electronic Gaming Monthly, and those various Tips and Tricks magazine, the one that had all the cheat codes in it for basically almost every game on the market that actually had cheat codes. But, this younger generation, they'll never know the pain. They'll never know the pain of tugging on mommy's garment and saying, Mommy, will you please buy me this magazine? I really need this code. This is a really hard game. Oh, I really want to unlock the secret suit and, the armor and blah, blah, blah. Instead, these guys, all they got to do is pull out their smartphone and go, cheats for this game, cheats for that game. And it just whips out everything for them to where they can just put it all in right there on the spot. And that was something that Russ had alluded to on Retro Game Core about this device is, you don't have to play 3DS games on this or DS games. You can play PS2 games or GameCube games, and you can have the game running on the top screen with an FAQ pulled up on the bottom screen where you're like, or a walkthrough guide. Like if it was a game that was really hard, and, you're just wanting to go back through and relive the nostalgia, but you don't want to have to try and remember everything. Yeah, just go and upload the game in, your emulator, and then bust out the swap screen option on the bottom and use it to Google something and just have that open on the bottom screen as you're going along, beating your game. Now, this Ocarina of Time 3D, this game looks absolutely amazing on this device, okay? When I dropped the resolution a second ago, I dropped it down to 2x native. But, I mean, if you see how fast Link is running, okay, if you remember the original N64 version of this game, you're only moving at like 12 to 15 frames a second. No, this version, you are obviously using a lot more frames. I mean, you've got full animation of everything, including his face. That was going back and playing the N64 version of this, which I tend to do sometimes, looking at the difference between Link's face and this versus that that glossed over, like Link might be stoned kind of look that he has on the N64 version, and then seeing this, it is so very, very different. And if you were playing 3DS emulation, then this is definitely one of the games that you're going to absolutely want to replay. Okay, and not only that, but if you look at the system, which I had to take a few seconds to figure out, by the way, on the N64 version of this game, you had to pause the game, swipe over to this menu, swipe over to that menu, add your sword, add your shield, all the different things that you had to do. Okay, in this game, there is none of that. Okay, in this game, you've got the bottom screen where you just tap and touch and put things where they're supposed to go, and this, that, and the other. And so, but it took me a few seconds to figure it out, because you see me, I'm sitting here pausing the game, and what does it do? The first thing it does just pulls up, save your progress. And I'm like, I don't want to save my progress yet. I haven't done anything. And it's like, I'm not trying to dive into my controller settings either. So what the crap? And so you see me pull the menu back up like, oh, looky. And then so I go to items. It's like, oh, it's not there because the sword is not an item. It's under your gear. And so I go up, I tap the sword, and then I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm like, where do I put this flipping thing? How do I move it over? I just want to equip it. I want my N64 back, But then when I finally figure out what the heck I'm doing, it's like, oh, okay, I did equip it, because it shows it. If you look on the bottom right of the screen right there, you can see that I do have the sword. But remember, I had the wrong button layout, so I couldn't figure out, okay, how do I swing the stinking sword? And so, in a few seconds, I start figuring it out, like, oh, okay, this is this now, and this is that. And because there is no Z button, okay, remember in the N64 you had Z targeting. The Z button is basically replaced with your shoulder buttons. And so, oh, look at me now. I'm so bad, figuring out how to use my little sword and whatnot. And then I was like, okay, now let me figure out the rest of my moves. So, there I go getting all acrobatic. And, yep, I was like, this is awesome. Okay. So now that I know what the heck I'm doing, I'm actually going to go back through and play this game and beat it, because I want to see how much better the bosses look. You know, I had a 3DS back in the day, and I had this game, and then my junk got stolen from me. Okay, which really, really ticked me off, because it's like, I probably would have had a much better perspective on that game had had I not had my crap stolen. Then I wouldn't be sitting here fumbling through controls trying to figure out what the heck is what. So now we're moving on to Sonic Generations, and this game ran a lot faster than I thought it was going to. When I originally tried to run this game in Citra back on some of my other devices, even back on my Odin 2 when I had it, okay, this is one of those games that had a lot of stuttering and this and that and the other. But running it in Azahar, it actually seems to run really, really smoothly once you get past all the title screens and whatnot. And so, like, watch as Sonic, see, like, you don't see any compilation stutter. So I thought that was really, really cool. I know that we have there was another Sonic game that starts you out in Green Hill Zone, and I'm trying to remember which one it is. Came out on the Nintendo Switch. It wasn't Sonic Mania. Even though Sonic Mania does kind of do, well, I guess maybe it is Sonic Mania. But I actually really like the art style on this one. I feel like it was a pretty good callback to the original Sonic the Hedgehog games and stuff like that came out way back on the Genesis. And so I feel like Nintendo didn't try to screw Sega over when it came to the Sonic games. I felt like Nintendo was doing everything that they could to enhance them. But I didn't spend a lot of time on this game last night. So moving on to the next game that we had in line, you can see that I had, out of this whole showcase that I do, I had probably another, I would say 7 or 8 games that I had uploaded into my handheld that I could have shown, but it was starting to get late, and life was lifing pretty hard yesterday. But playing Super Smash Brothers on here, amazing game. And once again, this, when you look at the Super Smash Brothers that came out on Nintendo Switch, okay, this game does not have nowhere near as many characters as Super Smash Ultimate, but I will say this though, man, is the fact that the graphics on this, once again, you got to consider the age of the hardware of the 3DS. And when you're playing these games at higher resolutions, and it just makes it seem like this should be a modern day console. And something I was hoping that Nintendo would have done with the Switch 2 is that they would have come out with a dual screen attachment for it. That would have been awesome, because they want you to rebuy every stinking game that they make, okay? But they want you to do it in a modern way, and not everybody that plays their classic games wants to play them in a modern way. They want to remember them the way that they were. And so, a dual screen attachment for a Nintendo Switch would have made it to where, okay, man, we're going to emulate these games, or we're going to play them natively on the Switch, and, maybe add a few graphical enhancements here or there. Or, they could have did like a Super Smash Brothers collection where they just take all the Smash Brothers games from the N64 and the GameCube and this and Switch and all that. And they could have put it into like an ultimate compilation on the Switch, and then given us the option of having a dual screen attachment. Maybe don't make it quite as bulky as this one, because one thing I will say about this dual screen attachment is the fact that the cable on the back, when you're not playing the game, it does really stand out. You're just kind of like, it looks like you're trying to hack into a government ATM machine or something like that, when you look at it. Kind of reminds me of that scene on Terminator 2 where John Connor and his little buddy are like, easy money. And to the younger crowd that's never seen Terminator 2, okay, go back and watch T2, okay? It's one of the greatest Terminator movies of all time, and all the newer ones sucked. With the exception of Salvation. That one wasn't half bad, I guess, but I digress. Playing Super Smash on this, absolutely a lot of fun. Uh, I was sitting here trying not to get my butt kicked too badly because, once again, I have Super Smash Ultimate on the Nintendo Switch, and everything handles a little bit differently. But I'll tell you this though, towards the end of this match, when I started figuring out Donkey Kong's moves for this system right here, I was really enjoying that spanking move right there because, like, basically I just grab them and I just spank, 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 spank until I finally get ready to just knock them away. So I was like, man, it's like a never-ending beating. It's like, man, Donkey Kong just turned this person into his child. But so the next game that we had in line, what was the next game that we had in line? Moving along. All right, let's get out of here. Let's do a little scrolly. What was it moving to next here? Oh yeah, Spiderman, Edge of Time. Okay, so this is another one of those games that had some compilation stutter. Okay, and remember, when you have compilation stutter, it will inevitably lead to a little bit of audio stutter as well. But this game was like, I was just like, wow, man. The graphics on this look pretty stinking awesome. That's something I just keep going back to, is the fact that this hardware was so old and pumping out these games, but it was just pumping them out at a really low resolution. And now that we've got more powerful hardware, okay, being able to play these games in these higher resolutions, it's insane. So I really thought that the story arc for this game was pretty cool. So, you're Spider-Man, you're fighting home dude right here in the beginning. And by the way, I absolutely sucked at it. And so this was just the title screen. And so I just thought it was kind of a wasted title screen. They should have did something different on the title screen, because basically when you actually start the game, you're going right into the battle that they were showing on the title screen. And so I kind of hate it whenever companies do that. I would much rather have, just a regular old title screen and then jump into my battle that's going to lead into the same exact story cutscene as what you just shown. Okay. But the combat in this game, it's not that hard to figure out. Really, really fun stuff. But I suck at dodging, apparently. I managed to do it like that first time right there. But, I wasn't one of those people that was into games like Dark Souls. Okay, because Dark Souls, the first time I played the Demon Soul series, okay, I just got my butt absolutely handed to me. It was kind of like going back and playing Devil May Cry. If you play Devil May Cry 1, it's kind of hack and slash, and it's not that hard to figure out. But then when you jump to something like Devil May Cry 3, then all of a sudden you start adding in blocking mechanics and dodging mechanics and all this and that. And the first game that actually taught me how to do any good dodging mechanics and do a good job of it was the God of War series. So once I started figuring out, how to dodge in that game, then, I started doing a lot better at other games. And so I think if I take my time with this Spider-Man Edge of Time game, then I may be able to do a lot better. But this first cutscene right here, this actually has to happen. So this isn't like, oh, you suck, and so now you got pinned, and this is like a game over screen or something. No, this is actually part of the cutscene. This guy kills Spidey, essentially, and then, like, future Spidey dude here jumps in and, just takes off with the story arc from there. But, I did let a little bit more of the cutscene play on this game, just because it seemed like, I don't know, I just really kind of liked where it was going with the story. It seemed to be very interesting to me. But, I didn't want to overdo it. But yeah, this is one of the few games in this. Matter of fact, I think this is probably the only game in this video where, I actually let you guys sit and watch a little bit more of the cutscene, so you can see what I'm talking about when it comes to this graphical fidelity boost that you have by being able to raise the resolution. I mean, look at that. You know, once again, these are titles that came out in the early 2000s, and yet you can see all the facial animation and everything else. And, you know, I remember when GTA 3 came out, the facial animation in that game kind of sucked compared to this stuff right here. But so then we move on to Metroid. And just to let you guys know, okay, I love the older Metroid series. You know, I've played the Nintendo one, I've played the Super NES one, the GBA. So I do love the Metroid series. Metroid Prime on GameCube is amazing on this device, by the way. But so this game is one that I never actually took the time to sit down and play. So I loaded it up onto the system basically so that I could show some footage for you guys. But I will be trying to go back through and figure this game out, because right out the rip, you know, I remember in Metroid there you have to earn your balling ability, your ability to ball up, your balling ability, balling. So, anyways, yeah. So I let the beginning cutscene play out right here, which is actually pretty similar to some of the older systems. You know, the way that they would start the game. But yeah, right out the gate, I couldn't figure out how to ball up. And so I was just kind of running back and forth, which you're going to see in a second. However, the gameplay is pretty smooth on this. And so, oh, let's let Samus come out of her little ship. Come on, Samus. Pop up. Yeah. So watch this though. Check it out. Do. See, you saw like 2 frames worth of stutter. And right there, when I was running against the ship, I was trying to figure out how to ball up. Couldn't do it. So you see me here ducking down. Once again, trying to figure out how to ball up. I'm like, what button do I need to push? What do I need to do? And so in a few seconds here, you're going to see something a little bit funny. Is you're going to see I accidentally hit the fast forward button. And so you're going to notice that Samus is running really, really fast. So this is not some kind of a cheat or a turbo option. This is, you know, just me trying to figure out, okay, can I ball up? Can I not ball up? And plus I was playing through the camera, so I couldn't see if there was anything in my pause menu or whatever that I was supposed to be able to press to get her to ball up. And so yeah, watch this though. When I get out here, I hit the fast forward just to see how fast she'll go. Yeah, look at that. Samus does not run that fast, you guys, okay? But hey, you know, some of you who like to speed run through games or whatever, you know, you might actually want to play this with the fast forward on. It's good to know that you have extra frames to work with on a game that's this powerful, right? And so, you know, this is, like I said, this is just me being an ignoramus because Joshy doesn't know how to figure out how to ball up or whatever. And I wasn't going to go through the level and figure out, okay, where else do I need to go right now? Because, once again, I didn't want to be playing the game all night long. And so, anyways, this concludes this long play in particular. Wait, hold on. Did I have one more? Oh, I did. Okay. My bad. False start. Okay, playing through Super Mario Brothers 2 on this game, you're not going to have any problems with this game. I can go ahead and tell you that right now. This game is very well optimized, as is Super Plumber 3D. So when you go through and play this, you will thoroughly enjoy this game. You know, if all you wanted to do was play Mario games, then this is not going to disappoint you because, like I said, when the makers of these emulators, first start these things, I believe that what they look for is, I think that they're looking for the game. First, I believe they try to find something just to see if they can get a game to boot. And then once they're able to get a game to boot, I believe from that point they probably start building on to, you know, the most popular IPs that they can find because they want people to download their emulators, you know. These guys, I don't know how they get paid. I don't know what the situation is. I've never looked into that. Maybe Mr. Sujano might actually know. But, you know, a lot of these guys are doing these emulators in their free time. And when they see that millions and millions of people have downloaded their emulator, then that means that they know there's people that want to play the games that they have made playable. Okay. And there are some games on the 3DS, like any other system, that are just outright shovelware. Okay. So yeah, the 3DS is an absolutely stunning system, but don't walk through everything with rose tinted glasses. There are some games that suck. Okay, but this was my favorite new power up that they added to the entire Mario series was the Mega Mushroom. I mean, just Mario's, just the biggest, baddest, whatever here. And I really really enjoy that. Just kicking everything over like wow. But so this game, like I said, very very well optimized. And not only that, but I don't suck at Mario even when I'm playing it through a camera. As you can see, I made it through this level just fine. And let's see if I can catch that. Wow! Yeah. I always try to catch the top of the flagpole. It's an obsession. Okay. But anyways. Oh, guys, I'm exhausted. Just a little bit. I'm trying to remember if we had any more games that I was going to do in this showcase, but I don't believe that we did. Or did we? No, we did. Okay. All right. You know what? False start number 2, guys. Oh, yeah. Mario Golf. Okay. Mario Golf World Tour. All right. This is another game that it had a little bit of compilation stutter, but it didn't have enough to warrant me not wanting to play it. And it seemed to kind of smooth out fairly quickly as I was going along. And I'm very good at Mario Golf, people. So don't try me, okay? I will win. But yeah, this game is loads of fun. Okay, I didn't start playing Mario Golf games until way back on the N64 era. Okay, and I have beat that game into oblivion. Okay, and it sucks because when you go to emulate it, there's certain things that don't emulate well on the N64 version of Mario Golf, the original one that came out on the N64. Mainly the putt-putt courses. They do not emulate well. You might as well just go ahead and play it on regular hardware if you want to play the putt-putt courses. Or if you know a different version of the emulator that maybe plays it better, then you can reach out to me and you can let me know. Okay, this is a gaming community. We do this stuff together, okay? But yeah, this game in particular, man, I really, really love the graphics and the art style and what they managed to do with it. I do own the new Super Mario golf game that came out on the Nintendo Switch, Super Rush. So I am, like I said, I am a Mario Golf fan, okay, for life, people. I just, I didn't start playing golf games until probably about when Tiger Woods golf came out way back in the day, okay? And even with the graphical leap that Tiger Woods was on the PlayStation 2, back when I used to play Tiger Woods 03, I would still bust out the N64 and jump back into Mario Golf because of how enjoyable the game was. And so, if you're looking at this right now, you can see that this game is absolutely awesome. And the GameCube had a version of this game as well. But the Dolphin emulator, depending on which handheld you're playing it on, may or may not render the sprites. If you've got some weaker hardware, you may not be able to see the characters. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. But with this device, playing it on the 3DS version, I absolutely enjoyed it. So anyway, okay, it's official. This time, this really, really is the end of this 3DS showcase. And I really hope that you guys truly enjoyed this. Please, whatever you do, please watch my other videos, because if you guys don't watch the other videos, then I'll never populate in the algorithm. This channel will never grow. Okay, please take the time. I did this video out of appreciation for you viewers, and I'm begging you guys, please help me grow this channel, because I would love to get big enough to the point to where I don't have to work the kind of day job that I work forever. I would love to be able to do this kind of content and be able to do it to the fullest for you guys. Okay, I'm doing this in my spare time right now. Okay, this is stuff that I was doing, into bedtime last night and into this morning. So anyways, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, share, comment, and thank you guys for supporting the channel. Thank you.